Hello everyone, my name is Natalie Armstrong-Motin and I'm talking today with Patrick Moulsdale. Hello, how are you, Patrick?
Hi Natalie, I'm great. Yeah, good to be talking to you today.
Well, thanks very much for joining me. Patrick, I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind starting our interview with telling me a little bit about who you are and what your company CMP does.
Sure. Well, I'm head of people development and mediation for CMP, and so I work with teams, with leaders, with individuals across organizations to help them develop, also to help improve relationships, to resolve conflicts, to work with people in a whole myriad of ways that are primarily focused around developing awareness, developing self-awareness. That's always been my interest and my passion, is to support the development of self-awareness, which is so critical for so many things in the workplace. And with CMP, we've been a leader in the field for 30 years around supporting constructive human relationships in a whole variety of different ways, helping individuals, teams, organizations to develop a conversational culture.
And so how does that work? You have courses, or you go in as a consultant to companies or corporations? How is it that you go about helping people?
Yeah, it works in all of those ways. We run training courses. We provide mediators and facilitators. We provide investigators when that is needed. So it's right across the board. We can go in and help organizations and help the people in the organizations to develop in those ways. Yeah.
And so in your courses, Patrick, what is it that you do to help people develop this self-awareness? How do you go about doing that?
Well, we have some specific courses that are really focused around that, and that is our Conversational Intelligence program, which is something that I played a major role in developing. And they're really the sort of experience that are interactive, reflective, self-development experiences. So they're not about imparting knowledge, although there are often some things that people don't know, but it's really about people having a different experience of how they interact with themselves, how they interact with other people, and what they can do to enhance the quality of the communication that takes place. Conversation is absolutely fundamental to everything that takes place in an organization. So that's why that course has that in the title. It's a series of courses, and that's why it has that focus. That is the starting point. Everything we do in an organization starts with a conversation. Everything we do in pretty much every area of life needs to start with a conversation. So whatever we can do to enhance that, to create more connection and understanding, has got to be a good thing.
Okay, excellent. And so the courses that you offer, are there different options? Are there different programs?
Yeah, I mean, we have a suite of programs under the title of Conversational Intelligence. And it's a 4-day program. The first day is about an introduction to conversational intelligence and developing the 5 core conversational intelligence capacities. And I can say a little bit more about that in a moment, perhaps. And the second day is about collaborative relationships, so how we apply the understanding around conversational intelligence to enhancing the way we relate with our colleagues and clients and team members. And then there's self-management. So how do we manage ourselves in all of that? What are the conversations we do and don't have with ourselves? How can we enhance the quality of those conversations? Because every conversation with somebody else starts with a conversation with ourselves. So we need to be looking at those and how we manage ourselves in these sometimes pressured situations, which workplaces often are. And then the fourth day is called Living Conversational Intelligence at Work. So that really helps to bring together all the other days to integrate how do we apply all of this at work, in our organization, in our team. How do we make this with each other with it? A really a fundamental mindset shift, but not only a mindset shift, but an application shift can take place so that things happen differently.
Excellent. So yeah, I am curious, what are those 5 cores that you mentioned a moment ago?
So the 5 core capacities are situational awareness, curiosity, reflective listening, empathy, and self-awareness. So these are the 5 core capacities that we feel we need to focus on, to develop, to understand what they mean and how they look like and how we can apply them in order to enhance that connection and understanding in the communication that takes place. Situational awareness is like the gateway into an effective connected conversation. So often we're in a conversation before we know we're in a conversation. Situational awareness is like the pause before we enter into it. It's almost like a mini risk assessment. So, see what's happening here, what's needed, what do we need to do to ensure that this is a connected conversation. What's happening in me, what's happening in the other person, what's happening in other people. And then we just need to be curious about that. To be curious, not just on our own agenda, not trying to force things through from our perspective, but be curious about what is happening for the other person. Why might the other person be saying what they are saying? What might be leading to that? What can I do in that to enhance connection and understanding? And of course, listening reflectively. So listening in a way that ensures the other person feels heard, not just listening to find an answer back, listening in order to make your own point. And then empathy. Empathy is such a fundamental key issue for organizations today. I think there's more and more of a realization of the importance of empathy, of how that can oil the wheels of the way communication takes place, the way that teams function. And there's a lot of misunderstandings about empathy and what that is and how that works. And then self-awareness. We need to know what's happening in us and how what's happening in me can impact the way I'm interacting with you or with anybody else. So that's a brief run through of what is actually takes a number of days to go into all the ingredients of, but those are the 5 core capacities. And you'll notice we call them capacities rather than skills.
Because?
Because a capacity is something that is more than a skill. So a capacity is something that comes also with an awareness that we know how to use a skill and to apply a skill. We can hardly say that empathy is a skill. It needs more than just a functional do A and then do B in order to demonstrate empathy. If we're doing that into, a capacity is multi-dimensional, and a skill can just be less dimensional. So it includes the self-awareness and the awareness of everything that's happening with somebody else and the awareness of how to apply a skill. So we need to start by developing a skill, but then through integration and through exploration and through application, it can develop into a capacity. And it becomes something that's more integrated and more authentic. And all of these things will require authenticity and connectedness to them.
I now really understand the distinction and greatly appreciate it. It tells me how passionate you are about the work that you do. I think I know the answer to my next question, but is there a specific demographic that your courses are best for? Who really should be taking these courses that you offer?
Well, the really important thing is that they are people that want to develop, that recognize a need for that. This doesn't really work when people are looking for just some knowledge, just some chalk and talk, and it doesn't work with people who don't want to or don't have the capacity to self-reflect. So it's a really important leadership development experience. It can work for anybody who wants to engage with things in this particular way, whether that's teams, whether that's people with internal clients, with external clients, change facilitators, with all these different ways, across an organization. But anybody who wants to develop and is willing to have their thinking challenged, because I think that's a really important ingredient for developing self-awareness, for learning about ourselves, is to have our thinking challenged and look at things in a slightly different way. So it's absolutely a development program in that sense.
I like it very much, and I can imagine that it's a program that provides, like you said, skills and capacities that we can apply everywhere throughout government, in our personal lives, in our workplace environments. It's really a skill or a capacity, as you said, that is applicable across the boards. Where have you seen best success with your training programs?
Well, the interesting thing is that people seem to get something from it, no matter what situation they're in or what level they're in, what level they're at in an organization. So we've done quite a bit of work with Army officers with this. You could think that this sort of thing doesn't sound like it's a very military sort of concept, and it isn't, but there's a great openness to learn amongst the military establishment, and a willingness to look at different ways of enhancing communication. And then there's a whole challenge in organizations that are very hierarchical about how do you manage to have engaged, connected human relationships in an organization that is also very hierarchical. And that's a challenge that many organizations have. We've had some great work with occupational health practitioners who are needing to support people in the organization who are having struggles with their own health issues, and how to enhance the depth and the quality of the conversations they have. Sometimes in these situations, people are needing to have very personal, in-depth, empathic conversations, but in a very limited amount of time. So anything that they can do to enhance that can help a lot. Also, we work with intact teams in global corporations, with multinational groups with lots of differences, lots of different ways of looking at things, lots of different languages. It can also work really well, because the essence of harnessing difference is something that's really important to all of this as well.
No, I can imagine. I can imagine the applicability in so many areas. Within the NHS, for physicians or health practitioners, within government, within the military, within corporations or community action groups. I can see the applicability and the benefits of this program in so many places. Really remarkable, this idea of conversational intelligence and helping people develop these capacities. Where do you see the future of conversational intelligence?
Well, the future is unlimited from my potential. Because if we look around the world at the moment, your unconstructive, negative, I'm right, you're wrong conflict is endemic. It's endemic in organizations, it's endemic, we only have to look around us in politics around the world at the moment. There is such a great need for a more empathic approach. So there isn't any area of life in which there isn't a use for it. And I think there's more and more of a realization in organizations that this is a way to enhance creativity, to enhance collaboration, to enhance the way we connect with each other. You know, there was some recent research on LinkedIn that said there's a number of core skills that are the most needed in organizations that they find the hardest skills to get, which are creativity, persuasion, and collaboration. And this program supports the development of all of those things. And as more and more organizations realize the need for this, and realize the advantages in developing people to develop in these areas, you know, that's where I see the potential of the program growing. Because if I can say one more thing about that, you know, there's quite rightly there's a lot of expectation in organizations that that we harness difference, that we are inclusive, that we work together with a whole wealth of different ideas, cultures, nationalities. But there's a lot less support in how to actually do that. And you know, the recognition, it's clear in my mind that, and we see that from other work that we do with CMP, that isn't always easy. And there's kind of an assumption that because it's good and because it's right that we can do that. And actually, it isn't always easy, and providing support for that and developing an awareness around that and the challenges that we have around it is hugely beneficial. And that's where the whole idea of this program really began. The idea, how can we help people to harness those differences?
I see that the program is really intelligent in its design and in its applications. The last question that I have is the programs that you offer. Are they available only in the UK, or is there a way for corporations around the world to connect with you online, or have you come to them? How would you interact with someone from far afield?
Well, as a company, we do work internationally. You know, the majority of our work is in the UK, but we've worked in a number of different continents, never mind wider around Europe, and that's absolutely something that we're open to doing and developing more in that area. Obviously, there are more and more global corporations who might have bases in the UK, who also have bases all around the world. And we've done work that has sometimes started in the UK and expanded around to other international bases as well. So,
excellent.
Yeah, you know, like you, I also live outside of my country of birth because I live in Portugal. So I do a lot of traveling to deliver the work that I do.
But you know, the nice thing about technology is that it lets me sit in Normandy, France, and you're sitting in Portugal, and your company is in the UK, but we're all available anywhere people need us to be, which is remarkable.
Right. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yep.
You know, and my interest really is in changing organizations, you know, one conversation at a time. And, you know, I believe that we can do that. I believe that many organizations want that. I believe that many people are trying to do that in their own organizations. And of course, that is much wider than just organizations, as you rightly say. That happens in every area of our lives that we can apply these things. But we primarily work in organizations, and most people spend a lot of their time in organizations. So the more we can change them for the better, the more we can enhance communication and understanding and connection, the better that is for the organizations, because there's lots of evidence that tells us that organizations function better and are more successful in those sort of environments. And the better it is for the individuals in the organizations, in this time and world in which there's massive amounts of stress. And it's so hard for people to catch up with stuff, to stay up with stuff. So the more we can help people to connect with themselves and each other, there's got to be a really good and important thing to be doing. Right.
Well, and then I notice a trend amongst our colleagues in that more and more of them are voluntarily disconnecting from social media or watching the news because of this chasm in in these core points that you're talking about. And because we have created or allowed for our corporations and our governments and our societies to become so bifurcated and so disparately different, and it is really uncomfortable for us as individuals. And so I note that more and more of our colleagues are just removing themselves from the conversation. And that can't be the healthiest. I think the healthier thing to do would be for us to utilize the services of your company and other like companies to encourage a more healthful conversation, a more appropriate conversation, than to just excuse ourselves from the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's to totally excuse yourself from the conversation is a very hard thing to do, because by being here, you're a part of the conversation. So we can all do a little bit to be contributing to enhancing those conversations. You know, it was Barack Obama who said that the biggest deficit we have in the world right now is an empathy deficit. So we can all do a little something to bring more empathy into the organizations that we work in. We don't have to transform the entire organization in order to make a start on that, but we might transform the entire organization by making a start on it.
I love that quote. I think that's a great place to end our interview. But before I do, Patrick, I want to know, what is the best way for people to connect with CMP Solutions?
Well, the easiest way is to go to our website, cmpsolutions.com, and through that website we can connect to all the myriad different things that we do, and the different ways that we can support people.
Fantastic. cmpsolutions.com.
cmpsolutions.com.
Okay, fantastic. I will, of course, put that web address link in the description bar down below for anyone that wants to connect with Patrick Moulsdale or his colleagues at CMP Solutions. I think that the trainings and these communication skills are imperative for companies, individuals, governments, society at large to learn. I encourage everyone to log on and learn more about Patrick and CMP Solutions. Patrick, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
It's been great talking to you, Natalie. So it's been a rewarding conversation, so thank you for taking the time for it.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Listen, everyone, as always, I will encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this information with colleagues, with neighbors, with anyone that you think can benefit from the courses and information offered by CMP Solutions or Patrick Moulsdale. And as always, be good humans. Thanks very much for watching.